Hey guys, it's Solitary Gamer, and we're here with another Anthem video. Let's talk about the problem with Ranger, and we got some new updates from Bioware. When it comes to the Ranger, he is hands down the most versatile Javelin. He can do just about anything. Any kind of role you want to play, get the gear, create the build, and the Ranger can do it. The best thing that he's supposed to be able to do is shoot, and yet most of his components are targeted towards increased melee damage. I, along with others in the community, do not agree that this should be the direction for the components for the Ranger, and so we're here to talk about some possible changes to his kit. Stay here, and you'll officially be up to date on the latest in Anthem, ranging from patch notes, news and updates, community Q&A roundups, educational videos, and much more. If you're new to the channel, I'm an up-and-coming content creator, and I focus on creating educational videos for Anthem and Dauntless, a free-to-play action RPG. I also stream at twitch.tv/SailorTurnGamer, link in the description box below if you ever want to catch us live. If you enjoy the video, please give it a like and a share, and join the fleet by hitting that sub button. Now let's get into the talk. First, let's talk about the Javelin's unique weapons. Colossus has grenade launchers and autocannons. Intercept is basically on the Truth to Tarsus, with its Javelin exclusive Masterwork perk. Storms are born to rock a marksman rifle, but what about my boy the Ranger? Me personally, I would love to see the Ranger with grenade launchers, but way more improved than what they are right now. Yes, I know that means the Colossus would have to lose their grenade launcher, but I think they won't miss it seeing that they have autocannons and seeing the state of the grenade launchers right now. They hit like beanbags, and so if we shifted that over to the Ranger, gave them grenade launchers as their special weapon that they have that's unique to them, increase the power just a little bit, I think it could do wonders when it comes to blast damage and AoE damage, or even single target damage that's buffed by increased blast damage. I think that would be something that would be incredibly amazing. The single target blast damage that the Ranger specializes in could take that grenade launcher to an entirely different level. If that is something that you guys don't like the sound of, maybe just create an entirely different weapon that is exclusive to the Javelin of the Ranger, because I think that's something that would be really, really cool. Overall, I would just love to see the Ranger with a signature weapon of any kind of sorts. Hopefully, some of these issues will be addressed tomorrow, Wednesday, March 6th, during a live stream with the devs, as we know it's happening due to a tweet from Jesse Anderson. Or maybe in a future patch. And speaking of that, Ben Irvin also let us know via Twitter that we can expect a patch around March 12th. So, we got some big things coming to the game around March 12th. I'm excited because we know at the earliest it could be March 12th, or who knows, it could be a little bit later than that, or it could be a little bit earlier than that. Nobody knows. To know where we're going, let's first talk about where we are. I understand the Ranger has arguably the best melee attack in the game, at least in my opinion. But the further you get into the game, the increased melee effects are just not worth it. Here are some of the components the Ranger has, and here is a Reddit user that goes by the name of Silvax. He gave his input on some of the changes that he wanted to see in the game, and although we did not create these changes, I am interested in letting you guys know that these exist. So if you want to read them yourself, I'll leave a link below in the description that's directly related to this Reddit post, and you guys can check this out as well. But let's get into that. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to see is Airborne Advantage. So the way Airborne Advantage reads right now is there's an increase to your impact damage by 35% of the base, and then it decreases your blast damage by 35%. And the Masterwork perk on it is hovering increases all resistance by 10%. So the rework that he wanted to see on that I agree with, is you will still have your impact increased by 35%, but now you will also receive an increase to your impact combo damage by 35%. The Masterwork effect will be a gun hit streak of 3 increases your impact combo damage by 20% for 15 seconds, and it can stack up to 3 times. We want to talk about that. Doing this, the intentions would be to not take away from your ultimate damage, because you want to increase your impact combo damage and weapon damage. Instead, just allow me to specialize in your guns and impact combo damage even more. Now, those of you that don't know, the ultimate for the Ranger is affected by blast damage. So this perk and component like scratches my head whenever I read it. I have it equipped on some of my builds, but it just makes me wonder, like, man, in order to shoot my guns, I'm sacrificing damage with my ultimate. I don't feel as though that should be the case. So I agree with this direction of the change to the component. If this is something that Bioware wanted to do, you guys let me know if you like that or not. And we're going to move on to Badge of Devastation. Badge of Devastation currently reads, enhance the assault launcher to increase damage by 5% of base damage. With a masterwork reading, performing a large hit streak of 10 will instantly add 1 ultimate charge. First, what is 1 ultimate charge? I would like for that to be more specific, because it would just read better and people will get a better understanding of what they mean when it says 1 ultimate charge. I mean, I don't know if that's 1%, if it's, I don't know, like, what is it? Like, could be anything. But the rework on that we want to see is an assault launcher abilities increase fire rate by 15% for 20 seconds 2 times. With a masterwork reading, performing a large hit streak of 10 will instantly add 5% to your ultimate charge. Now, speaking of reading better, this is exactly what I'm talking about. 1 ultimate. Don't know what that is. I could assume it's 1%, but then again, maybe it's not. The rework, not only will it change the ability to make it something that's targeted towards shooting your guns because you are a soldier class, it also becomes more specific as far as the ultimate charge, 5%. That is easy to know. It lets you know how much percentage you will gain, and it gets easier to gauge as you actually use the perk. So then you'll begin to notice if it's actually activated. I like that. A little note on that, I want to say I'm a soldier. I specialize in charging my ultimate and gun damage. This utilizes my gear to help me kill things faster with guns or ultimates, which makes a lot of sense if you were to use something like Badge of Devastation with this possible rework, if that was something to happen. Changing up the way this component works will allow you to actually focus on shooting and ultimate damage. Seems like a pretty straightforward base build to me. I like the change. Let's move on to Combined Arms. Combined Arms originally reads, increases your grenade damage by 5% of the base damage. With a masterwork reading, defeating an enemy with your E gear will increase your Q gear damage by 60% for 5 seconds. Those of you that are playing on console, E and Q, those are just the ability markers for your grenade and your assault launcher ability, with Q being your grenade and E being your assault launcher ability. The rework on that will be increased grenade damage by 35%, not 5%, and the masterwork will be hitting an enemy with your E, which is your assault launcher ability, will increase the gear damage for your grenade for 5 seconds. The whole thought process behind this is if you want more grenade damage, you can go for blast damage. This will help you. Killing enemy perks are kind of useless in GM2 or above, either making them super long or change them to hitting an enemy. Basically, the higher up in the tiers you go, those of you that haven't made it to GM1, or those of you that are GM1 but haven't made it to GM2 or GM3, I have done a few contracts in GM2, and all the enemies are tanky, and truthfully, doing it is not worth it yet as I'm making into this video. And that goes into play when you're looking at perks like Combined Arms. I mean, the component ability that is giving you, gear damage on death of enemies, I mean, that could take forever to activate in GM2 or GM3. And I am completely on the side of, changing that to hitting an enemy would allow you to do more damage, which will allow you to kill faster, which would allow you to proc more perks. It would be a nice change if something like that happened. This is why I wanted to talk about this, guys, because these changes, I am on the side of this, and I think a lot of these are really, really amazing. If you guys have any things that you don't like and you want to change, be sure to let me know in the comment section below so we can continue having this conversation on making Ranger better and overall making the Javelins better. Hopefully we're going to do something like this with the other classes in the game if they need or want things that need to change. So let's move on to Defensive Bulwark. Defensive Bulwark currently reads, increases damage with all guns by 25% of the base damage. On low health, you increase your gun damage by 25% for 10 seconds. There will be a rework that is increasing your damage with your guns by 35%. And then on low health, you will clean status effects and restore 35% of shields. Now this will be an awesome change if that's something they would consider. And I think that it will really, really help you out having this masterwork due to fire being so deadly in this game. I mean, fire is insane in this game. if you're on fire, your entire shield is gone. You lose most of your health, and I just think that would be an amazing call when using a component in a masterwork that's called defensive bulwark. I mean, imagine right now getting lit on fire, your health dropping really, really low. You're still burning. You're trying to get to safety so you won't die, and you're cleaning that status effect. I mean, it sounds really, really good. And not only would you clean that status effect, you even get 35% of your shield back, which definitely can protect you, especially right now, seeing that the support ability that we have, the bulwark, is just, it doesn't even work. It doesn't work. And not only that, I've played myself and I've been lit on fire before, jumped in the water where you can swim and was still on fire. So changing this defensive bulwark to something like this will really, really help out all rangers. It will definitely allow you to have more toughness, and it will also give you more damage during your defensive stances. That will be awesome. All right, so let's move on to Elemental Ops. Elemental Ops currently reads, the base of it will increase your fire damage and your maximum heat capacity by 20% of its base values, give you a fire resistance of 20%, and increases elemental effects applied to enemies by 20%. That's the masterwork. We like to say an ultimate rework that reads, your ultimates now primes and burns all targets it hits. It increases your elemental damage applied to enemies from all sources by 125% when you hit an enemy with your ultimate. So the reason and changes behind that will be your ultimate now primes and burns targets that it hits and increases all elemental damage, even from your teammates, by 125%. Now that sounds nasty. I could see if Bioware didn't want to make that change to include your teammates, but I mean, the state of Elemental Ops right now, I don't think it's in a good place, because the fire resist, you would think that it helps you out, but that whole spiel I just talked about, how effective fire is in this game, no, it doesn't. It does not. I mean, I've had a build where I had Elemental Ops on, and I was using a fire resist epic level gear component as well on my build. Now with that, I was losing health and armor due to the changes of having an epic level and then having your masterworks, but the fire resist is just not the way that it should be. It is so strong in this game. Now seeing a change like that, not only would you think about your ultimate really, really increasing in its effectiveness, and it will really, really change the game as far as clearing out a lot of enemies. And you got to think about these changes. Yes, on the lower difficulties, you'll just be killing everything, but when you think about the effectiveness that your ultimate would change into when you're dealing with GM2 or GM3 mod, it really, really, really changes the battle for your favor. One of the other mods we want to talk about is General's Favor. General's Favor increases your grenade recharge by 35% of your base speed, and the masterwork change on it is defeating an enemy with your melee increases your grenade damage by 50%. The rework on that would be, you would have an increased recharge rate of 35%, which will stay the same, but the masterwork now would increase your weapon damage by 50% for 15 seconds, and that will stack twice. That again plays on the entire aspect of the ranger being the soldier class, and it will help boost your gun damage, which will be super, super awesome, because your gun damage will go up by 50% for 15 seconds, and it stacks. So that means you have the possibility of having your weapon damage go up by 50% for 30 seconds. I mean, that is very, very entertaining and an interesting concept to think that's something that the ranger could have in this kit if these changes were made. I think it would be awesome. Meaning, the more you throw your grenades, the more you can shoot. The more you shoot, the more you can have your ultimate ability, which lights people on fire, does status effects, which allow you to combo. I mean, it all sounds beautiful when you read it like that. We got a couple of more components we want to talk about. We're going to talk about Tactical Advantage, which Tactical Advantage increases the threshold by overheating, occurs by 35% of the base threshold. The masterwork on it is weak points hits now lower your thruster heat ability, build up by 10% for 5 seconds. I use this component on my hover build. I like it, but I am intrigued on making it better, which we would like to see a rework that reads sprinting for 2 seconds reloads your weapon. While hovering, your ultimate damage is increased by 100%. This is Tactical Advantage. I reload while I change my position and devastate enemies by unleashing the airborne attack on them. Now, I like the way it reads now. It helps you hover even longer, but just imagine being able to actually move around and reload your weapon, being able to hover and putting yourself in those situational moments to use your ultimate. Not only does that encourage a variety and a slight change to gameplay, it encourages you to increase your knowledge of playing as a ranger. It's not all about just boots to the ground. It's about moving. It's about dodging. It's about slamming. It will force the players to play with the intensity of a ranger, the way it was meant to be played. This sounds like a phenomenal change, and it's something that I definitely want to see. It's something that I hope Bioware can get a hold of and understanding. These are things that people want to see. At least I agree. Let's talk about Vanguards Badge. Vanguards Badge, the base of it reads, increases melee damage by 30% of base, and the electrical effect, it goes up by 30% of the base. The masterwork, performing a melee kill restores 20% of your shields. We already talked about how melee is just not an effective form of combat for the ranger in endgame. It sucks. It sucks. It has a long cooldown, doesn't do enough damage, and it locks you in an animation for a decent amount of time. Instead of doing like a melee move that really puts you in bad positions in the higher tiered missions, if somebody's in your face, it would be really nice if you could freeze them. Freezing them would be super cool. And that is really what the rework is all about. Having that would mean that your melee hits now freeze an enemy, and the masterwork on it would mean hitting with your melee reduces your damage taken by 40% for 3 seconds. Making that change will put you in a position to not only be able to do some damage to get out of the situation, possibly freeze that enemy, get a little bit of protection, even if you can't freeze that enemy because you're trying to freeze something that's like out of the normal, like a big guy with a shield and he's not ready yet. At least you get a little bit of protection while you're making your way out. While sprinting, you can reload due to the other component change, and it will allow you to actually perform gun damage. Sounds like a great combination to me. Let me know what you guys think. And the very last component that we wanted to talk about was Victor's Resolve. Victor Resolves currently reads, it increases your blast damage by 50% of the base and lowers your impact damage by 20%. The masterwork, performing a small multi-kill, instantly restores 25% of your maximum armor. We would like to see a rework where it increases your blast damage still by 50%, but also further increases your blast combo damage by 35%. That will be a super nice change. The reason why is because the ranger is still a soldier primarily. Let's not do things to force us to take away from our gun damage just because we want to specialize in grenades. What is a soldier without his gun, without his grenade? And this is an ability focused game. This only empowers the player to not only play with the spirit of the ranger, but increases their overall knowledge of the game by putting themselves in positions to be able to maximize their components' abilities. I agree with a lot of the changes that were suggested on the Reddit thread. I hope that if none of this can go there all at once, just over time, hopefully 1 or 2 of these things could actually happen, because I really want to see these changes happen in the game. Through all of this, the Ranger is still hands down my favorite Javelin, and I hope that over time, like I said, that we can see these in the future. The sky's the limit. Who knows? It could be in that next patch. Probably not. But it could be something that could be down the line, because I really feel like the Ranger needs changes. If you guys have any ideas on changes that you want to see to the Ranger or any of your favorite Javelins, please let me know in the comment section below. I'll be there. Anybody that made it this far in the video, I just want to say thank you. Stay here for all things Anthem. We'll do our best to cover everything about the game for years to come. If you enjoy the video, please give it a like and a share, and join the fleet by hitting that sub button. Until then, this sail will be out in the open ocean. Peace.